Let me go on the shares. I can only see Kevin, Richard, and Sharani. Can you see the slideshow in front of you? Perfect. Okay. So, good evening, everybody. Good morning for some of you, and thank you very much for tuning in today. So today's let me do an introduction. So I'm Shavez Chima. I'm the founder of One Stop Borneo Wildlife, and I'm also an administrator of Borneo Mammals Club, which is an online community of mammal lovers on Borneo and around the world, free from researchers to photographers to just visitors who visit on Borneo, share their finds there and the local people there. So it's a series of talks being organized by Borneo Mammal Club this week to talk, because there's so many interesting people in the Borneo Mammal Club, people who work on small mammals to pangolins, from elephants to people working in Kalimantan and Bornean carnivore program, for example, people working on marine life. So today's talk will be on the Sunda pangolin. So, like I said, my name is Shavez. I am from Brunei, but I'm actually based in Sabah, in Tawau and Kota Kinabalu, but mostly in Tawau. So we do various activities from research to wildlife rescues to developing conservation tourism projects to make projects sustainable and create a positive value for the environment. Um, we um, we also have a very comprehensive education program from wildlife workshops in schools to book clubs. Today's topic is the pangolin project, basically. So what do we do in this pangolin project? Basically, Sunda pangolin, Manis javanica, that's the scientific name. We do rescues, as you can see on the poster, research, sustainability, We train poachers to become guides, and we develop conservation tourism projects. You see, we work closely with poachers in Sabah and Sarawak and Brunei as well, and in Kalimantan. Kalimantan, we have not expanded fully yet, but in the near future, you see, poachers are not all bad people. A lot of poachers are good people as well. They want to send their kids to school, and have a good lifestyle, just like some of us here. And that's why they go into poaching. So sometimes, if you offer them an alternative livelihood, they will change. So, okay, this map I got from geology.com. Now, for some of you who don't know where the pangolin lives, or some of you who don't know where Borneo is, that's Borneo basically. Okay, it's Singapore is on the maybe around this area, on the top, and Sulawesi, that's Indonesia. So Borneo is an island with three countries: Brunei, Malaysia, Indonesia, Indonesia, Kalimantan, and Malaysia, Sabah, Sarawak, and Brunei. Where does the pangolin live on Borneo? Actually, they live on every part of the island. All right, they live in Sabah, they live in North Kalimantan, East Kalimantan, South Kalimantan. They live in the whole island. All right, they have been recorded from all parts of this island. Where do they? Where are they usually found? So over the years, we found out they live. They can be found anywhere. They can be found in plantations, whether it's a palm oil plantation or softwood plantation. They can be found in housing areas. Actually, housing areas and settlements are the most commonly found places where we usually encounter pangolins, either on the side of the road or through rescues. That's shocking, for some of you, but actually now we are getting used to it. So if you want to see a pangolin, for example, maybe one thing would be drive around Brunei at midnight, in the housing areas. And that somehow, even myself, I've seen it 6 times, So yeah, pangolins can be in plantations, which is a very disturbed habitat, housing areas, primary rainforests, and logged forest. In the primary rainforest, you put camera traps along near tree holes or ridge lines. We have randomly got them as well. In log forests as well, they've been found on logging roads, basically. So yeah, as you can see from the photo, this is actually from a rescue we did in Brunei around 6 years ago. And it was at one of the students' house, which we had given a workshop to look where the pangolin is. It's riding her bicycle. I don't know if that was its original objective, but it ended up on the bicycle in the house. They called up one day and they said, "Hey, we have a pangolin on the bicycle." I thought they were just banter or something, nonsense. But then, as you can see, the pangolin, it is not staged. So yeah, pangolins are found pretty much everywhere because you see they like to eat ants and termites can be found almost everywhere. Maybe in disturbed areas even more. Maybe that's why. Ecology of the pangolin. The pangolin is a nocturnal mammal. So it's a mammal. It is not a reptile. Some people think it's a reptile actually because of the scales, but actually it's a mammal. So it's a mammal, gives life birth to young. And nocturnal meaning it only is only active during the night. Very rarely, or I've never heard of it active during the day. They're excellent climbers. The stories which I've heard from loggers is when they have logged a certain part of the forest and when the tree falls down, they've actually seen pangolin on the tree, either dead or injured or just crawling out. So pangolins are excellent climbers. And pangolins, they can weigh up to 16 kilograms. We have rescued a 16-kilogram one in Brunei, and we have rescued 5 to 10 kilograms in Brunei, Sarawak, and Sabah. So that's the weight scale we have encountered. Pangolins can stay in tree holes sometimes for days. We actually have recorded on a camera trap pangolin entering, and sometimes it stays there and comes out maybe after a few days. Maybe it's eating inside or just chilling inside. We have also even radio tagged a pangolin once, and it entered one of the tree holes, and when we tried to find it, it was just there in the tree. So yeah. The midnight theory. Now, this midnight theory is just the theory, as you can see. We have done some interviews with loggers and people all over Borneo. They claim to say that the most active time for pangolins is after midnight till 4 a.m. Why? I'm not sure. They think ants are more active then, so that's why they come out. I don't know if there's any ant expert here to verify that, but this is just some of the finds. Myself, I have seen at least 6 pangolins at night between 12 a.m. to 12:05 a.m. Yes, between that 5-minute period. Usually after sports or hanging out with friends and driving home, I've seen it between this particular time frame, which is a 5-minute time frame. And some of our rescues actually have been quite late as well. But Chapman and I found once a pangolin in the wild at 9 p.m. So I don't know how accurate this theory is, but people, this is I'm just sharing this interesting find from some people and even us. This particular photo is by Yi Jun, who's from Brunei, and this is a rescued and released pangolin, and went straight for this termite tree and started devouring all those termites. Pangolins are excellent swimmers. This was quite surprising when we found out. Wait, let me show you the next photo. Okay, yeah, pangolins are excellent swimmers. So this we know from there's two evidence that pangolins are excellent swimmers. Number one, once we released the pangolin at a tree hole, the pangolin, and it was not maybe it was 50 meters away from the stream, which you're seeing in front of you. We released it 50 meters away. We try to always release a pangolin near a tree hole so it goes straight up, and 99% of the time it goes up. But this one particular pangolin went in the hole, but then I don't know why. Maybe something startled it, sensed the water. We looked away on the right for a second, and straight away darted itself. Straight away went for the stream. It just went in. We have a video of it. It's quite nice actually, and I was just shocked. It wasn't like struggling and swimming and just trying to get away from. No, this guy knew how to swim, so he was an excellent swimmer. Second evidence is late last year, a friend of mine, his name is Adam Junaidi, his friend filmed a pangolin swimming off the coast of Kota Kinabalu from one island to the other, in the middle of the island. And when we have talked to other fishermen, they have seen pangolins swimming from island to other island. So pangolins are excellent swimmers. This is a photo from Dedra Julius Kulip. She's a guide from Sabah. She recently found this year this baby pangolin. In the day, on the left is it's sleeping on the tree actually. So that's proof that it's actually an excellent climber. And on the right is another photo by her at night. So I guess maybe she found out where they were and then she went at night to check it out and it was there. So pangolins are excellent climbers and excellent swimmers. Very interesting. Why are they, pangolins, so important in the ecosystem? There's so many people, sorry, I take that back. There are not many people actually studying pangolins. So it's very difficult to even study a pangolin. Finding them in the wild is almost impossible. Even when you release them and following them is really difficult. Once you've collared or tagged a pangolin, it's really difficult to follow them because of the thick canopies. It's almost impossible. Maybe I'll have a few days data and it's gone. However, there's a new successful case study, which I'll talk about this after this. So it's very difficult to find out a true ecology and behavior of a pangolin. There are not many real, or I would say hardcore experts on pangolins. So it's very difficult to get these answers. So why are they important? Now, this is based on hypothetical theories. So first of all, to understand why are they important in the ecosystem, we have to understand what they eat. So pangolins only eat ants and termites. So you have to understand the ecological role of ants, for example. Ants keep the pH level of the soil kind of neutral, so it doesn't go too acidic or too alkaline. And ants are also predatory species. They eat other insects and other animals in the ecosystem. Termites, they eat wood. Yeah. So just imagine if you had a certain area and the pangolin went extinct in that area. So what would happen? There would be maybe potentially, theoretically at least, an explosion of ants population because there's no predator eating them. So what would happen? Maybe the soil level might be changed in the long run, which could affect the plants and trees growing. And maybe the ants will have a great feast for the first few weeks of eating everything in their way. But in the long run, would that be beneficial to the ecosystem? Will there be a mini ecosystem collapse of certain species or plants in that area? This is just an hypothesis or based on what pangolins like to eat and so on. So perhaps that's why pangolins are so important in the ecosystem. They control the population of ants and termites, because if not, it will have a disastrous or destructive effect in the ecosystem. Like any other animal, every animal has a link, and why it's so important in the ecosystem. This is another photo of a wild Sunda pangolin, as you can see on the left, and on the right, look at the scales. Yeah, it's beautiful, and that's hair actually popping out on the right one. This is on the top is a pangolin crossing the road. So once I think we were just driving, and I thought I see a monitor lizard on the side of the road. Monitor lizard have this funny way of walking in the daytime. But then I was like, wait, monitor lizards active in the day, not at night. So that's why we realized, whoa, that's a pangolin. That's one of our first sightings. Below is a pangolin eating termites. Didn't really bother. I think it was just eating termites and ants. Looked at the camera, went back to his business. Okay, people working on pangolin Borneo. So actually, I don't know so many people working on pangolins on Borneo. So first of all is Alisa Panjang. Alisa Panjang is a PhD student from Sabah. She is doing groundbreaking work on pangolins in Sabah. She's actually has tagged several of them and follows them. And I think she is successful so far, but even she will admit how difficult it is to follow them because of the canopy, and you have to be really close to detect it on the collar. So Alisa Panjang is doing great work, and I know she is starting to successfully follow them, but it is not easy finding a pangolin in the wild. So I think she'll finish her PhD in a few years, and then maybe we'll have some wonderful data. So I think she's the only person at the moment who I know who's doing a long-term study on pangolin. So Alisa Panjang is doing long-term studies. One Stop Borneo Wildlife, we do rescues and research as well. One Stop Borneo Wildlife, basically, particularly myself, Chun in Sabah, and Richard Thomas in Brunei, and previously Bud Chapman as well. Richard is here as well. Bud is not here. from rescues. We basically do rescues. Jeremy Tony is from Brunei Nature Society and is also from an organization called Brew Wild, and they also do some rescues in Brunei as well. Jeremy is here, but he's having technical issues. Wildlife Rescue Unit is a unit society is a group organization here in Sabah, and they do wildlife rescues here in Sabah as well. I this doesn't mean these are the only people working on pangolins. There may be people working in Sarawak and Kalimantan as well, except I haven't gotten in touch with them yet. So I apologize if I have missed out and you know somebody. If you do know somebody, please connect us. This is a pangolin rescue which happened last year, and that's Richard in the middle. He's a troublemaker as well. He's in this talk, and that's one of the, I think, 20 or 30 pangolins which we have rescued. So usually local people from our own supporters, they become the rescuers, because like I said, pangolins just pop up at people's houses. It's all about being nice and giving. It's word of mouth, and that's how people get involved, and that's how we actually learn about the pangolin as well. When we release them, we see what they do. Sometimes they stay around, sometimes they don't. When they stay around, that's awesome, then we can observe them more. And usually these people who rescue them, they become our biggest fans after that, and then they will say, oh, this person is selling a pangolin, this person also has a pangolin, so on. That's how we get to learn a little bit about pangolins. Now, what are the threats to pangolins on Borneo? Many threats. One of them is snaring. Look at this foot of the pangolin. This is the foot of a pangolin stuck in a snare. So due to wildlife poaching and trade on Borneo, this is an issue. And pangolins or many other animals get their foot stuck, or and they die usually. But this one was a champion, a fighter, because not only did she get her foot stuck in a snare and escape, the next morning when we had rescued it, she had given birth to a baby pangolin. That is remarkable. And this is indeed a fighting pangolin. We call it, yeah. So another threat is syndicates. There are syndicates on Borneo. I'm not going to name any particular places at the moment, but there are syndicates where they catch pangolin and sell them to traders, and they usually sell off through the ports. So yeah, that's an issue here we have. I think the border control and port enforcement needs to improve. Sometimes when syndicates are transporting pangolins out or in, they usually categorize the animal as frozen fish. That's why the authorities or people may not look at the container, or the top layer might be full of fish and bottom of it might be pangolins. That's an issue. Pangolin is a protected species on Borneo in Sabah, Malaysia, Sarawak, and Indonesia as an Appendix 1 animal. I'm not sure in Kalimantan what appendix it is. In Brunei, it is not protected under the Wildlife Enactment Act 1984. So it needs further protection there. Weak enforcement means sometimes, like for example, if you Google, there was a pangolin case, I think 100 million ringgit case, or something like that, just a few weeks ago, and the guy was acquitted in Sabah. Now, this was because even though the person was caught red-handed with a few tons of pangolins, the reason why he was acquitted was because of the lawyers had used the wrong code, penal code, the wrong act to prosecute this person. Rather than using the wildlife law, I'm not sure, I think they used the customs law, which was, and it was the wrong law. So due to a technical issue, the guy is acquitted now, even though he was caught red-handed. So this is an issue. So I think we need more training and collaborations with the authorities all over Borneo. So that's one threat. However, I can tell you one thing though, the Sabah government and the Sarawakian new wildlife department are really, really serious. And these are just a few off cases, where people are running away. I can tell you now they're starting to step up their game, and they do prosecute. If you do tell them, if somebody has a pangolin, these two particular governments will go straight away and prosecute that guy or catch the guy or apprehend and so on. So I feel like the awareness is kicking in the general public, and the authorities are doing their best. Except geographically, Sabah and Sarawak are so big, it's difficult to just be there on time sometimes. Hypothesis on fertilizers in farmland. Now, what does this mean? So I have to give you some examples. Some pangolins, sometimes we encounter dead in plantations. Sometimes they have not been hit by a car, or they have not been shot by some person. They are just dead. This could be the fact that pangolins are poisoned, not on purpose, but maybe because their source of food, for example, ants, have some poison in their body because of the fertilizers in the plantation. I'm not too sure how it got in. Don't ask me those details, but maybe because they eat so many hundreds and thousands of ants, this poison accumulates in the body and it chronic, slowly over the course of time they die. This has happened with elephants as well, and this has happened with we had a meeting earlier on with a doctor earlier this afternoon. He said that sometimes owls die in plantations too in Borneo because they eat the rats. The rats have a little bit of poison in their body because they're living in plantations which are full of pesticides, and so that's how it goes across the food chain. So owls, elephants, and this could be a theory that pangolins are actually vulnerable because of these pesticides. False beliefs is basically traditional Chinese medicine, and also basically local people, local restaurants in Borneo, especially Chinese restaurants, and indigenous people in Borneo as well. They hunt pangolins either for medicinal purposes or just want to have some meat. So it's false belief. The reason why I say it is because there's no evidence or conclusive evidence at all that eating pangolins or their scales have any medicinal value. You go to any doctor on Borneo or anywhere, the doctor is not going to just tell you, medically it's been proven the pangolins are going to cure this and this and that. So it's false belief. So we need more widespread education. This is another threat to the pangolin: roadkills. Pangolins are dying because of roadkills. So we have had many pangolins in the past which have been victims. So what is the future of pangolins on Borneo? More research. We basically need more researchers and people doing education programs, for example, on pangolins. For example, like I just told you, Alisa is the only one I can think of from the top of my head on Borneo who's doing a long-term study, Sapsari is basically a pangolin center project, which is potentially going to open in Sabah soon, a rescue rehabilitation center. That's the future. Hopefully it's going to happen in a few years. Some positive news, even though many people are skeptical still, that in China, the Chinese government has banned uh, the trade of pangolins, at least now temporarily during this COVID-19. The, the government officials have said this could be long-term permanently, but we'll see how it happens. So at least the Chinese government is starting to take notice, especially now because of COVID-19 as well. So let's see how serious it is. That's all I can say. You see, China is the problem and China is the solution, no matter what we can say. So we have to work with China. Yeah, because that's the biggest source of demand. So when the buying stops, the killing will too. More community engagement projects. We need more projects on wildlife. It doesn't matter if they're just more researchers, perhaps. I think we just, even if somebody is not an expert on pangolins, as long as you are nature orientated or wildlife orientated, if you're based on anywhere on Borneo or anywhere in Southeast Asia where the Sunda pangolin is found, if you have an organization, just do more and more community programs and try to mention pangolin as much as possible. You see, the students don't have to know all these nitty details on the pangolin is active at 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock, or it only eats this and, and so on. Just tell them how rare it is, beautiful it is, it needs to be protected. We just need more community engagement and awareness. So it's a role which everybody must play. Pangolin tourism, is this a potential uh, future? Actually, we had a talk a few months ago on this topic, and it was quite a interesting topic because we had people from various backgrounds and fields who tuned in and gave their opinion. Some agreed, some disagreed that pangolin tourism is not the answer. Pangolin tourism could be the answer. There are some successful projects already which are happening on pangolin tourism actually. So it's a potential thing we can look in. Can you imagine following a pangolin in the wild, keeping a distance when you find them, and you create jobs? The money is pumped up in the local economy, and five pangolins have a fighting chance. Because right now, if hunter sells a pangolin, he gets $100, 100 ringgit, whatever. If you keep it alive, maybe you get $100, 100 ringgit a day for the rest of your life. And the money is being poured in. So pangolin tourism, is it a potential possibility? Yes and no. It has to be done right. That's number one. You have to keep your distance if you do find a pangolin. And it also depends on each species. Some species are more stressed. They get stressed out more. This was some of the conclusions from the discussion we had last time. In Congo, Rod Cassidy, they have a Sangha Lodge over there. They're local people who they are hiring. They follow 3 black-bellied pangolins every day. Not tagged, but they just follow them and they keep their distance, and they rescue pangolins, but they stay around the lodge all the time. They're not caged or in a closed environment. They're wild, but they have been followed every day. So kind of successful there. It has been tracked successfully in South Africa as well. So again, depending on the species, sometimes some species get more stress, some less. But that's the question, right? We have to compromise a little bit. If we say no, because we can't do just pangolin tourism because we don't want to hurt the animal, we don't want to stress the animal. You know what? In that case, why not we just stop wildlife tourism in general, whether in Africa or Borneo or anywhere? Even with elephants, whether it's in Sabah, we watch them. We do stress them out a little bit, but we have to have certain rules to keep your distance and so on. So this is a very interesting topic to be discussed and looked into. Like I said, it's not I thought it's actually a new project, a new idea we thought of, but then we realized no, some people are already doing it successfully, and some people are finding mixed results. So in Borneo, is it a reality? You don't know. We don't know yet. Possibly, we are looking into this at the moment, and where exactly we're not going to reveal at the moment. So let's see how that goes. But please give your viewpoints and feedback after this. We'll have a discussion session. Through community engagements, this is the result sometimes. We have done 140 plus rescues now in Borneo through community engagements. These are the rescues, just some of the rescues. The picture on the left, me holding a big, huge pangolin. That's a 16-kilogram pangolin. And the lady next to me was my high school lecturer around 12 years ago. So she found out, hey, my ex-student likes pangolins and popped up in her house, and she just called us. That's how it works. The guy in the middle also, I think heard of us from social media. The kids on the right, there's just 8 years old, 9 years old, and they are pangolin saviors as well. So we need community engagement projects. You don't have to be a biologist or a scientist to save animals or pangolins. Anybody can save them. Citizen science. These people in the pictures you're seeing are the common man and woman and boy and kid. So it's everyone's duty to help do their part, not just for pangolins but other wildlife as well. So it was a very short talk and discussion I wanted to share. This is the contact details. In summary, I just wanted to share the pangolin is found all over Borneo, literally on every part of Borneo. And of course, some places they're being hunted out more than less. Their preferred habitats are also varied. They are very adaptable, apparently, from plantations to locked forests to housing areas and everything. There was one near a bar at Kota Kinabalu, Sabah, just last year, near there at midnight, and somebody filmed it. It was crazy. So pangolins have threats on Borneo, like I said earlier on, from syndicates to roadkills and so on. Their ecology is actually poorly studied, like I said, but hopefully Elisa Panjang's study will shed some new light, and I only shared with you what we know so far, and some of the future of pangolins. I explained a little bit. So yeah, that's the contact details, email, website. That's my Instagram, Borneo Adventurer. If you're on Facebook, please join Borneo Mammal Club. Okay. And basically, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now because that's the end of my discussion. Now it's the question and answer session, discussion session where you can give your opinions, agree or disagree, why, and so on. Now there's one way to do it. Please look at the bottom of your screen again in the reactions. You can give a thumbs up if you have a question and you want to say anything. So yeah, the floor is all yours, everybody. Does anybody have any comments, questions? Yes, Nurul Afika, if you can unmute yourself. Maybe I can.
Yeah. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm Afika. I'm an undergraduate I actually just not I actually just finished studying my undergraduate studies in conservation biology a few weeks ago, and I'm trying to figure out the process and the steps towards my master study, which I'm aiming to study on Sunda pangolins. So
Yay.
in relation to that, in relation to that, I have a couple of questions. So
Sure.
so I'm still trying to figure out so I'm still trying to figure out the current climate of research on Sunda pangolin in Sabah. So in your opinion, I would like to ask, like, in your opinion, what is the field of research or the kind of research that you think is kind of scarce or lacking, but is important and should be prioritized? And apart from that, I would also like to ask in regards to Sapsari. In regards to Sapsari, is One Stop Borneo included in the establishment of the sanctuary or not? And if you are, how are you involved? And also, I would like to ask, what is your advice for future researchers that would like to get into Sunda pangolin research? Yeah, that's about it. Those three questions.
So I'll try to remember, and if I'm wrong in answering, just if I swayed away from topic, please tell me. I think pangolin study. You see,
Okay.
Elisa is doing her work on their ecology, or at least in trying to follow them. I think what we need is more community engagement. I think we need to find out, how to get the public more involved in saving pangolins. Maybe this pangolin tourism idea is something cool. Is this one way to save the species? Because scientists usually say the same thing: we need more enforcement, and we need to find people, blah 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 blah. And look, what has it gotten to us? The animals are still suffering sometimes. Don't get me wrong, I'm a scientist too, yeah. And what I mean to say is we need to have a holistic approach. Okay, we need to have more, we need to have education, we need to have enforcement, we need to find people, but we need to look at the most important thing, which is economics. Economics is very important. So if you can do your research along that line somehow, I think that would be good. So I think that's no. Okay, I'll give you an example. This is a joke which I think is quite relevant by a friend of mine. He says, what's the point of some researchers out there studying on how many times a orangutan shits a day? How does it actually help save the species, when we can actually do some other projects? And I find it quite funny, and I laughed about it when I thought about it. That's true. So if you can think, I would suggest, if you can go along the lines of doing some community engagement projects, or is there any economic viability on doing pangolin related projects or tourism and so on? I'm not sure. I would go along that line. But of course, you can also go on ecology. And if you want to do something with ecology, talk to Elisa more. Maybe she'll tell you, what, this is the gap I have in my study. I couldn't do it in my time. Maybe you can help out. So it really depends. I think citizen science is needed more, because let's say, even if you found out the ecology of the pangolin, right? The pangolin ecology is A, B, and C. I still don't know how is that's going to overnight save the species. I mean, it's not going to create overnight jobs, pump in money, and so, and change perceptions. So
True, true.
I think that's my answer. Sapsari wise, we are not involved, and we are involved. It's really a project between Elisa and Peter, and it's a project on its own. We are one of the partners potentially in Tawau region in Sabah in the community engagement projects. So in that context, we are partners. Actually, I'm meeting Elisa after this, because we work together still sometimes. If we do see some animals and pangolins, and if she needs some samples or some data, we try to provide them. So in that context, we're helping Sapsari, but we're not involved in the project itself. I think your third question, future one, is, I think, same with my first answer. So yeah, I hope I have answered your
Okay.
questions.
Yeah, you answered it well. Thank you.
Thank you, you're welcome. Jessica, yes, Elisa is based in Danau Girang Field Center in Kinabatangan. And Afika, yes, congratulations on your degree. Bichu has said it is not easy to spot the pangolin in the wild. If there is a rescue center, volunteers help out, may be viable. That's true, Bichu. I think I've done maybe 2,000, 3,000 trips in the jungle, spent maybe a few years in the jungle now. It's based on hours. And I've seen wild pangolin. One wild pangolin. Okay, that was August 2015, 9 p.m. I remember that one. So 2015, yes, and 6 times crossing the road. So yeah. Okay. So does anybody have more questions, discussions on anything? Interested to know if they have good or poor eyesight. I think that's a good question. I don't want to give you the wrong answer, but my personal, I think, view and experiences, they have poor eyesight. Sometimes you've seen pangolins quite close, even during rescue or during release, or even in the wild. Actually, they didn't really see us until we actually literally came in front of them. So I would think their eyesight is not so good actually, but they're
Hello,
nocturnal, so they should be good, right? So I'm not too
hello.
sure. Yes, Sharani.
I have a question.
Yeah.
As I see the picture, yeah, that you that not catch, you save the pangolin, but I'm just interested to know that uh, after you like save them, what you do after that? Like you release them into, because if you release in the in the different forest, they may be that get, I think they maybe get the stress because of the environment, right? So I just want to know where you like save the how after you catch them, what the next process you save the save the pangolin.
Yes, Sharani, thank you. Very, very good question, and it has to be addressed. So we used to, in the first few years, I'll admit to you right now, we made a lot of mistakes. I wouldn't call them mistakes actually, because we are passionate young people, and we want to save the environment. But in the past, we get the animals and we just release them in the wild. Okay, straight away, bam, daytime, nighttime, we don't care. We release them because we want to put them back in the environment, right? And there are not many experts or no expert out there to properly talk to. So we learned over the years, you understand the animal depending on the species. So on the pangolin, we found out it's a nocturnal animal. So why are we releasing during the daytime, right? That's stressing them out more. So now we try to release them as much as possible at night. Number one. Number two, yes, look, if I released you, for example, you're from Tawa, and I released you in Sarawak, you would be confused too, maybe, So, of course, any animal you release, they'll be like, whoa, 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 what's happening, right? So, we try to release them as homely as possible. So, for example, in the past, I would just release them in the forest, like this, just like that. Then we realized, no, wait, they like tree holes, right? So, why not we release them entry holes? That's where they feel more comfortable, at least for a while, and get used to the environment. So that's your answer. I think that's what we try to do now. Try to give them water and release them at night and near a tree hole if possible, and then put a camera trap there to see if they come back and forth. I hope that answers your question.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep. Okay, now Jessica, you have given an answer. Chavez, just a bit of a data for the midnight theory you mentioned. Of the 10 pangolins I detected on my ground camera trap, 7 were between midnight to 5 a.m. The other 3 were 7:30 p.m., 9 p.m., and 11 people. Small sample size, but just for interest. Oh, this is very exciting, and thank you for this, Jess. I'm actually quite surprised you have seen 7 pangolins on your camera traps. We did 3 years of camera trapping. We don't see them on camera traps at all. So I want to know if you put them near a tree hole or just along the random, I would love to know where you actually put them. So this is really exciting. You've seen 7 between midnight. Yeah. Okay, no problem. Just you can type. Very excited. You know what? I'm going to take a note of this, and this could be something very interesting. Pangolin detection midnight. Jess, Alisa. Shavez. Okay, so the next question is by Kok on Ku. Have you asked poachers how they catch them in such number, but you fail to see them in the wild? Yes, Kok on Ku. Yes. I was always angry. I was like, well, I'm in the jungle now. I think I know how to spot stuff now a little bit here and there. So I wonder, how are these people catching pangolins and seeing them and we can't? So 2 ways we found out. I hope you're not planning to poach them. I'm just kidding. So, so there are 2 ways we found out. One is through trawl netting. Basically, they put nets, like those fishing nets, all over the forest floor, up to 300 meters. 100 to 300 meters. The forest floor is full of nets. So basically, anything which goes in the net, they catch from deers, small squirrels, pangolins. That's how they catch pangolins. That's number one. Number two, hunting dogs. Now, how do you train the hunting dog? I found out is first of all, they need to catch a pangolin. They kill the pangolin. They take the head of the dog forcefully and they put it where they cut the pangolin open on the blood. They, they move the head of the dog until the pangolin's blood is all over the face, so it remembers the smell very sharply. That's how they told me. Then the hunting dogs know how to find the pangolin and other animals. So I hope that answers your question. Just says, I set the cameras randomly on the ground, but not specifically into trails and features, as random as possible. Thank you. Okay. You can unmute yourself, guys, too, so we can have a discussion. I like that better. Okay. Sien has said, how to conduct pangolin tourism. Is it heavily affected by frequency of sighting, or is it a kind of tourism where visitors come to look at the pangolin in a defined area? Basically, it's like how do I say this? Okay, there's some elephants on Borneo right now. They're collared. Yeah, they have a collar on them. So actually, some of the researchers and authorities know exactly where the elephants are. So we can actually track them on the boat or the vehicle. So you can see them from a distance, the elephant. Same thing with the pangolin, tag them. Researchers can follow. The data can be used for research and enforcement reasons, and then find them in the wild. Keep your distance. That's what's happening in other parts of the world as well. So hope that answers your question. Sui has said, my data of 3 individual concurs with just sightings. Mine is in locked forest, one at 9 p.m., second at 11 p.m., third at 2 a.m. Very, very interesting. So basically, there's something of pangolins at 9 p.m. and midnight onward. There's something between these two particular times. I don't know what. Just says, I've not yet caught any on my arboreal camera traps and think that maybe because of low density of pangolins in the forest, and my cameras were usually facing branches high in canopy, but I think for pangolins targeting trunks or larger branches, lower down may work better. And also, Jessica, to answer that, what I heard from people is they usually climb those branches with a lot of foliage or an epiphyte around, and they, so they have a bit of shade, so it's not open, maybe that's why. Honey Roll says, no wonder in my 7 years working at the night on frog work, mostly in Ulu Tamburong National Park, Brunei, I've never seen a pangolin. I normally finish my work before midnight, but they are active after midnight. We caught them in camera traps though. Exactly, Honey Roll. This could be something, interesting to look at, and yeah. And maybe, Honey Roll, you can also ask, there was a girl, I don't know her name, maybe one of your friends or colleagues, she photographed filmed the pangolin crossing the road. I think Jorubi knows her. I don't know her name. I forgot. Dance something. But she saw the pangolin too. Maybe you can ask her what time she saw it. Sitsian, thank you. Jeremy, what do you usually do when you got a pangolin rescued? I'm interested to know you. Okay. So what do you usually do with a pangolin? So we try to get there ASAP. Try to make it as fast as possible. Get the pangolin, put in a rice bag if possible, maybe quickly take some samples if possible, some hair samples, scale samples, tick samples. We try to do that quickly as possible. Put it in the rice bag and go home quickly, or first we see if there is any visible injury to it. Usually 99% of the cases we have had, they're healthy. We know they can be released. They've been just caught, and best to release them straight away at night near a drill hole. Try to give water if possible. Try to find an ant nest if possible as well, but it's so difficult. So we try to do that. Jeremy, if you have any other feedback on how to improve that, that would be very good. Sui Han says dinner time. I don't know what that means. Okay, Yok Mui says, are the usual signs that a pangolin has been in an area, if any? Yes and no. I don't know how to see, but my hunting friends, they know how to see. I only know near a tree hole if I see some marks like, oh, this is freshly dug or something has been in freshly there. Then I know something's been there potentially, but it could be a porcupine. You never know, So my hunting friends know how to see a sign. Yes, Sui, pangolin is dinner time. Thank you for your clarification. Jessica says, yeah, thank you. Nurul Fika. Okay. Nurul's question is for Jessica. Kokonku, any need of breeding program for them? Kokonku, I think if somebody had done breeding on them, I think we pangolins wouldn't be in so much trouble right now. You know, for example, in Africa, they breed rhinos for two reasons. One is for hunting, shooting them for, for the especially American hunters, or for releasing them back sometimes. If pangolins could be bred like rabbits, or just could be bred, I think the species survives, has a fighting chance to survive in this world. But unfortunately, no, nobody can successfully breed them at all, or at a commercial scale. That is the problem, I think. Now, again, that will be a very sensitive and interesting debate. Again, is pangolin breeding, if it was viable, or let's say there's a new discovery in their breeding, should we do pangolin breeding, for example? I would say in the short run, you should, because the populations have been decimated, you know, so we should breed them more, and maybe, you know, try to compensate for the losses and so on. But again, that's a very, very sensitive question. I have my opinions on that, but we will need to have a proper discussion on that. So the answer is no. There is no breeding program at the moment. Sitien, what is the advantages of pangolin being nocturnal? Good question. I do not know how to answer that. It's like, why are squirrels diurnal? Maybe it's because they feel like they I don't know, maybe it's because ants are more active at night. Certain ant species which they like to eat are more active at night, so they are active at night, perhaps. Maybe they feel like they're less predators in the daytime. I don't have the answer to this question. Sorry, Sitien. I can only make a guess, wild guess. Chloe, the detective time is very interesting. Sometimes the behavior can be driven by from predator. Do you know what species is the wild predator pangolin? On Borneo, I can only think of three. A reticulated python eating them whole, maybe a clouded leopard, and a very dangerous animal. It's called the Homo sapien. It's a human being. I think that's the most dangerous predator we have of a pangolin. Uh, in the pangolin book I have, we have seen crocodiles hunting them in Sri Lanka. Yeah. However, Chloe, I have some interesting story. You can say, I'll try to make it short quickly. Make it quick. Helmeted hornbills is a very cryptic or interesting species. It's hunted for its red hair, and it's been hunted for centuries now. They're so shy of human beings. They're so shy. There's a theory. They Another reason why rarely people see them is because they wake up earlier than any other bird now, and they hunt and they eat their fruits, and then they just rest. So they're not seen by people. That's one of the theories. That's how paranoid they are. Some people say at midnight during a full moon they're more active. They can not more active. They can wake up and go hunt. It's a theory. I don't even know if there's any proof to this. How paranoid it is. But this could be because of human interference. However, I have to tell you one thing. I've heard helmeted hornbills twice around 3 or 4 a.m. Heard them. It's crazy. Yeah. So I'm not too sure if pangolins have been nocturnal because of humans or other predators. I don't have the answer to that. I just wanted to share that story. Hmm. Jess Hasten says, Afika. Okay, she's just answering her. Honey Roll, what is the home range of pangolins? Are they territorial? Apparently, the answer, territorial wise, the answer is yes, they are territorial. They have a small home range. The exact number I don't have in the top of my head now, but if you remind me later, Honey Roll, I have some literature and where the answer is. Yeah. Does anybody have more questions or points? Maybe you can raise your hand or discussion. Wow, Jeremy, you had experienced a random helmeted call at 2, 3 a.m. That's what he just typed, but he typed to me privately. Wow. So you heard the whole call? Or did you just hear whoo, whoo, whoo? Or did you hear the whole call? Because if it says whoo, whoo, it could be just a tree hole frog and maybe we're dreaming. Or did you hear the whole thing? I thought I was gila, you know, when I heard the helmeted hornbill. I thought I was dreaming, but then I heard it twice on 2 different occasions. Interesting. I'm interested to know your answer, Jeremy, after this. Anybody have any more questions? Nurul, okay, any more questions, anybody? Just raise your hand or unmute yourself. Jeremy, you said I thought I was crazy too, but maybe you and me are actually a bit crazy. So that's a different topic to be discussed. Yokmoy, what about indigenous knowledge re pangolins? Could that be useful to help in pangolin conservation? Yes and no, I guess. I think yes and no in the sense that indigenous people, maybe they know how to find them better. Maybe that's one way to conserve them. Uh, I only know two interesting stories from indigenous people on pangolins. One, they told me this particular longhouse. They told me that if the pangolin goes to their longhouse, like it pops up at the longhouse, at night, that means we shouldn't hunt them. It's good luck if it comes near the house. In the jungle, different story, but if it comes near the house, it's good luck. We don't hurt them. Number two, I had a story in the 1970s by the headman of Brunei's longhouse, a longhouse in Brunei, the Raja. The headman told me his friend in another town nearby is called Labi. In 1970s, he had a pangolin as a pet, and it would follow him during the daytime. It was a pet basically. It's crazy. And survived for a few years, and so that's I don't know how true that is. If it is, it would be great to know on how they, I don't know, made it habituated and like a pet. That would be interesting to find out further. Thank you, Mala and Honeyroll. Any other questions or things people want to say? Okay, if people don't have any more questions, I'm just going to do another round of shameless advertising. Thank you for tuning into this Borneo Mammal webinar series. Tomorrow will be a talk on mammals of Kalimantan by Dr. Susan Sheen. Okay, and then on Wednesday will be a talk by Dr. Andrew Hearn on Bornean carnivore program, and the final talk will be by me on can elephants and plantations coexist to mutual benefit. So again, email if you want the links, and happy to share that, or just tune into Borneo Mammal Club and we'll give you information. You can see the information there. Shahrani and Nurul Afika, maybe you can stay in touch. I'll put my number here so we can stay in touch. We'll meet in Tawau or in KK, and then you never know. It would be great to know if we can get all involved together. And that's my number there. And thank you so much again for everybody for tuning in. Dinner, Richard, I'm glad you learned something new. Dinner time for me. I hope it's not what I'm thinking. That's not a new recipe. Okay, Richard, thank you. Take care.
Dinner is not a pangolin.
Good to know, Richard. Thank you for clarifying.